All right, I'd like to welcome everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Laurie Ledley, the founder and president of Valley Sleep Center and Valley Sleep Therapy. I'd like to introduce you to Andrew Neighbors. He is our clinical sleep educator and also a registered respiratory therapist. He is an expert in CPAP. And I'd like to welcome you to the how did I say this? The Sisterhood of the Traveling CPAPs. I wanted to play off the movie. This is our second time doing this. We're giving away your choice of the traveling CPAP that we have in stock. He's going to teach you about all of them. So one lucky winner is going to win that. It's almost a $900 value. Yeah.
Right in that ballpark. Yeah.
All right. So I'll be off camera drawing the winner. Welcome everybody. Andrew, take it away.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I will go over these questions. I have see all the Q&A and stuff that's popping through here. I will answer everybody's questions. So if you, once I get to go through my slideshow, I'll get through the questions, and then I'll hopefully be able to answer everything to your best capacities. But of course, this webinar is, as Lori said, the Sisterhood of the Traveling CPAPs, primarily because of the, obviously right now with the world we're living in, the COVID restrictions are lightening up, and people are starting to get back to some semblance of what we would consider a normal life where travel is happening. Yes, there's restrictions coming in and out of the country, and some states are a little bit more different than others, but more or less, we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to traveling. And, as a CPAP user, more often than not, I've seen in my years of doing this that there's a gap in compliance. There's be a break, and a patient themselves, well, I went on vacation and didn't bring my CPAP. And it's like, well, how'd you sleep? Well, I wasn't that good. I didn't feel great. I felt crappy. And it's like, come on, you can bring a CPAP with you. And like, well, it's so big and bulky, and I didn't want to have it in my carry-on and such. And well, manufacturers now are creating travel CPAP machines. They're small, size of a cell phone, at least the footprint of a cell phone. They're a little thicker, but they're not big equipment. And they are just as clinically effective as a regular CPAP APAP system. So I will go through a slideshow of a handful of different machines, give a bunch of features and perks regarding these machines, and then I'll go through your Q&A. So I'll get this moving. So here we go, the Sisterhood of the Traveling PAPs. Obviously, as I mentioned, travel season is getting upon us, and whether you want to do the whole social distancing aspect or you're going with big family groups and such, everyone's going to need one good positive thing about their travel, and it's good sleep. The last thing you want to do is go on vacation and sleep poorly. If you want to get a getaway to see your loved ones, ask yourself, what's the best way you can get sleep from home with your CPAP machine? And, travel CPAP machines have been on the market for some years, but they haven't been really more or less utilized as well as they can be. Travel CPAP machines are very versatile systems. And as I said, they're just as clinically effective as the main CPAP you're going to receive. So I'm going to highlight 4 different travel machines. So the 4 travel machines are going to start with we're going to have the Dreamstation, the Philips Respironics Dreamstation Go, the Resmed Airmini, the HDM, the Human Design Medical Z2 Auto CPAP, and the Somnetics Transcend 3. Now, this is just a quick synopsis of kind of like the sound and the size of these devices, okay? The Resmed and the Philips Respironics, those are going to be the major manufacturer players in the game. They're the biggest CPAP, sleep apnea treaters in the country, or in the world, actually. Their devices are a little louder. 30 decibels, 26 decibels is not very much of a difference, but if you were to have sound tests, you're going to hear a little bit more sound out of them. The Z2 and the Transcend are quieter. The Resmed Airmini and the Z2 are amongst the same size. They're very tiny systems. They, like I said, they're about cell phone size. The Transcend has a larger footprint, and the Dreamstation Go is more of a square device. They are all auto adjusted for altitude, and the Resmed Airmini has the best auto adjustment up to 8,500 feet. most of the devices have some sort of compatible humidification with them, whether it be pure water or an HME, which is a heat moisture exchanger. It's like a disc that gathers your exhaled air and reuses it in the next breath, so you get some humidity. They're all, of course, FAA approved, and all of the ratings are at least 4 out of 5 stars. Now, travel CPAPs I mean, a lot of times I'll primarily recommend them for people who are like constant travelers. Like if you travel for work, it's a huge burden to pack up and go, pack up and go. So having a travel CPAP is excellent. You know, a pilot or like truck drivers or your flight attendants and such. You know, they're quick and easy. They come in their own little drawstring bag. You grab and go. They're subtly different than the normal devices just because of the limited availability of use. They can be charged up. They can be plugged into a cigarette lighter. There are DC power converters. There are batteries for them. Obviously, they're FAA compliant. You can use them on the plane, especially if you're doing like a transatlantic flight or something along those lines. So I'm going to go over some of the common features of each device. So the Dreamstation Go is probably one of the newest devices that's on the market. It is a very slick design. It has a color display, touchscreen display on the device. I think it's one of the most aesthetically pleasing of the 4 designs. It's a pretty simplistic design out of the machine. As one of the first slides showed, it is a little larger and of course a little louder. It is 30 decibels. It has the capacity to have its own humidification, okay? Now, I have had patients not bring a CPAP before because they were never able to find water. So we've all been told we have to use distilled water. And while there is truth to using distilled water, it is the best water to use by far. It's not the only water. You can get by with bottled water. Most bottled water is reverse osmosis. You'll have trace salts. You might notice a little bit of white film in the tank, a little bit of white vinegar. Get that out, no problem. Avoid tap water, but don't not bring your CPAP because you can't find water. That's a poor excuse, okay? The Dreamstation Go has its own overnight battery, and there's a handful of other batteries that are capable to it. The Metastrom Pilot 24, the Dreamstation Go adapter for the cigarette lighter. There's a couple sine wave inverters, and then the BPS Freedom Travel battery. A lot of these batteries are also capable of powering the main systems. The main systems run off of a higher amperage, so the battery's life will last less. The life of a battery is more or less determined on the power output of the machine and the pressure output of the system. How much oomph does it need to do? The overnight battery allows up to 10 hours of therapy. It's easy carry-on. It has a smaller tubing. It's not as, I think it's a 4-foot tubing that it comes with. And it's got the touch screen and it has sleep tracking statistics. Again, it's not completely whisper quiet, but it's what you get when you use a smaller device. Dreamstation Go is definitely a big pleaser because of the aesthetics behind it. The battery can fully charge in 5 hours. It makes it for low maintenance, easily manageable, and of course you can have the off the grid technology with the battery of the system. The Resmed Airmini is probably the most commonly used travel CPAP. More often than not, this is the one I see patients using. The Airmini is very simple. It's probably the simplest design of all of them. It's literally 2 buttons, a Bluetooth button to link it to your phone and a power on-off button. It can also be set up for auto on, auto off. It weighs less than 1 pound, and it uses the Resmed Humidex waterless humidification. Again, the waterless humidification is a device when you exhale, we exhale humidity. The device gathers your humidity, reuses it next breath, so you're not drying out. It is around 30 decibels. Again, it's the same as the Philips Respironics system. It's the humidification is capable with the nasal masks. They are opening up their mask compatibility to a few more different styles. I was looking at the Resmed site yesterday, and they're definitely have more capability of attaching them to more masks. They used to only be able to fit 4, and now they're up to 6. The best battery for it is the Metastrom Pilot 24, but there are other, of course, battery options, cigarette lighter converters, stuff like that you could use it on the plane. And obviously in this picture here, this guy is using it on his table on the plane. The Airmini is it's probably the smallest one. I do think it's smaller than the Z2. I find it to be a very simple system. Most of these devices do need to be programmed by hand. I had a patient, I talked to him on Friday, and he's been a patient of mine for some years. He says he has his Airmini for travel, and he doesn't feel like the pressure is right on it. It doesn't feel like it's working. And I can see the programming in the prescription for the main system. And I said, well, I can't get anything from this. I don't have no data, I have nothing. So first off, I need to have the machine in hand so I can check the programming. He was able to bring it into the office. I was able to log into the system, and he got this from an online vendor who shipped him a machine based on his prescription. They didn't program it for him. This is something to worry about when you buy online. Is just because you get the prescription doesn't mean the person programming is going to pay attention. I've seen this many times, and particularly with these travel machines, it's just box it, ship it. This system was programmed incorrectly. He was struggling super with the air pressure. He couldn't breathe at all. It's just a scenario that just happened just the other day, but be careful about buying these things online versus an actual vendor where they will program it for you. The machine does fit in the smaller, the size of your hand. It's very tiny. They added the Airmini humidification means you don't have to worry about water at all. It does connect to Bluetooth. The Bluetooth, the Airmini app that's on your phone is the same as the AirView app that a lot of patients with the Resmed device use. When you sync your Airmini to your phone, the phone will then upload the data to the cloud, which then we have access to. And that's what I did with this patient that I had the other day, is I added his machine to our cloud, and we were able to access his data from his travel machine when he uses it. The Z2, again, a very small device. This device came out some years back. It is an older device on the market, but it is very efficient. It has one of the things that they tout is this PowerShell extended battery. It's like this little sleeve that the device clicks into that you get your battery life. You can use it while camping. You can use it, if there's a power outage, God forbid, for something like that. The Z2 also uses this heat moisture exchanger process to get yourself the humidification you need to keep dryness down. It is compatible with a couple more masks than most of the other devices. This uses just a standard basic hose. So if you use whatever mask you use, this device will work with. There is the PowerShell, which of course you can see there in the bag where it kind of slides into the device, and it has a compatible HME for the humidification. It still does work with a bunch of different batteries that are available online and sine wave inverters. It is auto adjusting, just like all the other devices. It does have a built-in Bluetooth. Now, one of the issues that we run into with these kind of off-label travel CPAPs is that us as a company, we don't have the software to program these devices. So if you were to buy a Z2 or a Transcend, you have to contact the manufacturer to make sure the system is programmed correctly. It's a frustrating process. Whereas the Resmed and the Philips device, we have the capability of programming those systems. The Z2 is capable for camping and backpacking, just like the other travel devices. It fits most travelers. It's very small and compact, just like the other stuff. The Transcend. This is probably the oldest travel CPAP on the market. This is the 3rd generation. They've since upgraded. Funny story about this particular machine. When they very first came out and they first hit the market, they were designed to be worn on top of your head like a hat, which is insane to think somebody would actually try to do that. The hose came out the front and it dropped down into your face like an elephant trunk into your nose. And it had different masks that would be compatible, but it was like a strap setup that would go on your head. like a hat or like a bonnet or something. It was absolutely bonkers when I saw it. Like, who in their right mind is going to wear this thing on their head? Obviously, Transcend realized that not many people were doing that, and they have since made the device compatible for a nightstand, which is way more logical. It is a very good travel device. It's compatible with the solar charger to power up their Transcend batteries. Of course, it's FAA approved. Does auto adjust for altitude, but it doesn't really do anything with humidification. So it is going to be an all in all a dry system. These devices all do a variation of their flex, their C flex or their EPR, the comfort feature that allows smoother breathing with the systems. The Transcend is a cheaper device. So from a standpoint of like how much money you're going to spend, these devices can be right around $500. You're going to find it to be, cost efficient. If it's something that you're going to use once in a while, maybe this is the route you're going to go. If you're a frequent flyer, constant traveler, you need to put some miles on your device or hours on the device, you probably want to buy a better manufacturer's device. There's very limited options for viewing data. It's just very much a plug and play on off sort of system. Again, isn't compatible with the solar battery options. It is definitely ideal for more of a backpacker or a camper. So, of course, whatever your needs are, there are travel CPAPs for you. And of course, there's these different styles. I do recommend sticking with a manufacturer. There was something I learned a long time ago. You buy cheap, you buy twice. It's definitely if anybody's agrees with that, they'll understand the concept. So obviously, if you need to obtain one of these devices, we do sell some of them with a valid prescription. If you need a valid prescription, you can follow up in office with one of our providers, me, myself, or one of the other providers to get a prescription. Obviously, if new sleep study or something through insurance, get a device through insurance, we can work with that as well. So I will stop my screen sharing and then I will look at answering questions. So let's see where we're at here. In the chat, I'll start with the chat. All right. Scrolling up. All right. Marjorie, yes, I think I covered the camping element for you. So Diane Davis, is the hose the same as the home one? Some of the devices have a specific hose that's designed for that particular device. Most of them, if it's a standard basic 6-foot hose that more or less is compatible with every device, a lot of them will work just fine. Carlos G, does the water need to be emptied for travel? If the ones that use water, every single time, especially the main systems. I mean, water and electronics don't mix. Donald Nakando, I'm not going to even try. Sorry. You use CPAP camping, run over lithium ion battery. Yes, absolutely. Turn off the heater. That has so much amperage draw on the machines themselves will tell you what the amperage draw is with or without the heater, and most of it's the humidification shoots the amperage of about 2 amps, which can burn right through the power. Adam, yes, it is pretty frustrating to contact these manufacturers because a lot of times they don't want to deal with patients. But they're really the only option that you can get to find them the programming, because no vendor that I know of carries the capacity to program the Transcend or the Z2. The durability of the Z2, I've liked it better than the Transcend. The major manufacturers, the Resmed and the Respironics, are just going to be a better device. My particular favorite of them is going to. So it's funny how this is. Resmed has always been touted with having a pretty simple device to use. The Airmini is simple. The Philips Respironics device has got a little bit more bells and whistles, but it's not simple. So that's really the toss-ups. You're going to spend for them. You're going to spend more money for them. The best one for airplanes is probably going to be either the Z2 or the Transcend. The Z2 or the Resmed, being that they're smallest. They are all APAPs and CPAPs. APAP is a CPAP. They can be programmed either way. There's no BiPAPs, no ASVs. It's only APAP or CPAP with these devices. Anthony Esposito, elevation approximately 8,000, 8,500 feet or so. If you're in somewhere like, say, Colorado, what would at 10,000 feet, what would happen is if your device was programmed to say a pressure of 10, it may only be outputting a pressure of about 9. About that 2,000 foot elevation difference, it drops about a point. So you lose a little bit of therapeutic benefit. It's not like if it was not adjusting, if you were using a 10 at 10,000 feet, it would be down to like a 4 or 5. It wouldn't work at all. So that little bit of elevation difference isn't going to make too much of an effect, but you might notice it. Bree Miles, difficulty with the CPAP since it's becoming warmer outside. Hard to breathe, no humidity going. Try putting ice cubes and ice water in your tank, shutting your humidifier off. The air will start cool and cold through the system. And because there's no humidity, it's only going to get to room temperature. Not going to get warmer than that. Jonathan Walters, all the machines will operate with a full face mask. Alfredo, I answered that question about the BiPAP. Chris Lee, do we have to clean them every day? Well, these devices are generally a dry system, so it's not like the most of them that are dry systems, you don't need to wash the hose and stuff every day. The mask is really the major item a person's going to wash every day because it's on your face. It's touching your face. It's gross to put on a dirty mask every day. All right, so I will get to the question and answer element. Diane Davis, mom has a CPAP and a pacemaker. Can she use them with the magnet? Yes, she can. The magnets are not powerful enough to cause any issues with the pacemaker. Answer this question, Brian Miles answered that already with the heat. Obviously, like I said, another thing you can do is try to go to a smaller style of mask with less headgear. Those can be definitely beneficial. Gilbert Romero, do you have to be under a certain weight to get the implanted machine? I imagine you're talking about Inspire, and yes, your body mass index needs to be under 35 to qualify for Inspire. Tom Crosley got an AirSense 10 from Valley Sleep Center, which is paid for by Medicare. Unfortunately, none of the insurances pay for these travel machines. It's not just a Medicare thing, it's every insurance across the board. The travel machines have never been, the manufacturers have never got billing codes for them. In order to bill a machine to an insurance, it has to have a billing code, and the manufacturers of these have chosen not to do that. Ron C, I want to know, not only just portable machines, I'd love to see some new CPAP machines come out for 2021. Last year, these manufacturers got tasked with creating the ventilators for the COVID situation, and all their designs and everything seem to have been put on the back burner. I don't know what the telehealth link is. You'd want to call our scheduling office to find that out. Travel PAPs are so expensive because it's the same technology in a smaller device. And it's considered a luxury, and manufacturers want to make money. Mark Mueller, use nose cushion. Sometimes it feels hot on the inside of my nose. Is there a temp setting on the machine? Depending on the system, there either is a physical temperature setting and a humidification setting. You'll want to lower both of those. Stephen Warchek, if you have central and obstructive sleep apnea, do portable devices work for central? Now, if you have central and obstructive sleep apnea, most likely you're going to be using either an ASV style machine or a BiPAP with a backup rate. And if that's the case, none of these devices are compatible for that. What is the best water to use in CPAP machines? Always distilled is the best. I had BiPAP and now I'm told I need CPAP. Why do I need change? Patty Meager. The BiPAP to CPAP transition can be because either you were initially had more of a pressure demand, your body needed more power to treat your apnea. And when we were able to restudy you, your body did not need that power that warrants a BiPAP machine, or you had some sort of lung condition that was happening that would warranted the transitional pressures that a BiPAP machine does. I have a home CPAP machine, getting a new one. So Ron C, you can contact our scheduling office. Our number's at 480-830-3900. We can get you started with getting a new CPAP machine and a new study. You can meet with one of our providers and we can go from there. So Marjorie, no, it doesn't cut out at over 8,500 foot elevation. The power output is slightly diminished by about 1 point per 2,000 to 2,500 feet. So it won't stop working. It just, the pressure output will slightly start to diminish a bit. How does it sound compared to a regular CPAP machine? Suzanne Foro. Depending on how long you've been using CPAP, my best analogy is it sounds like an old CPAP machine where you can definitively turn it on, you can hear it humming, it making a noise. It's not awful, but if you were to compare it to one of the new style machines like the Resmed AirSense 10, and then you had the Resmed Airmini next to it, while they are the same motors and such, there's no insulation. So you're going to distinctly hear the Airmini more than the AirSense 10. Can you use a regular CPAP in long distance planes to travel to Europe? You need to get it approved by the airlines to travel with the main system. The smaller devices are less of a problem. Carlos, I did answer that question. The P30i, they have made it compatible with the Airmini at this point, yes. Does the Airmini require Bluetooth connection to function? Not to function. That's just to sync the device to your phone. Functionality, all it just needs is a power source. It plugs on and off. If you use Resmed at home, is it desirable to stay with the same company? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's more preference than anything else. And Barty, would you use a pillow rather than a full face mask? Would you need to use a device that has an actual humidifier since my breath won't be providing moisture? Well, your breath is still providing moisture if you're breathing through your nose. Your nose still does act as a humidification and filtration source. The pillow device is just, they use the heat moisture exchanger, a little bit more humidity. It's a better humidification method. Dan Davis, can all prescriptions be accommodated? I'm not really sure what that means, because there's a lot of ways a prescription can be accommodated. I'm sorry, I don't really have an answer for that question. I answered that. Julie Cheng Wong, what's the difference between a CPAP and an APAP? Okay, CPAP stands for continuous positive airway pressure. Basically means one pressure pushing in constantly. APAP is automated positive airway pressure. It is still a single pressure pushing it in, but the device has the capabilities of adjusting based on the patient's demands for air, whether it needs to go higher or lower. Stephen Vance, the Resmed device, it doesn't work with all the Resmed masks. There's a limited source of Resmed masks, about 6 of them right now. Sandra Barkov, medical coverage, you can have it covered by your health savings account. That's about the best it's going these days. Shirley McKenzie, the cost of the Resmed Airmini, it's about $900, and it does work with a full face mask. No, insurance does not cover it. Yes, do they need to go through airport security like our others, or can they be packed? That's a massive risk. You're packing them a CPAP. Obviously, you do have to run the risk of having your luggage lost, damaged. It's going to be a rare case with these travel machines because they're going to be easier to pack and easier to pack up into your clothes and stuff. I do recommend bringing them on the plane. That way, you have it in hand. Because I'm sure you wouldn't pack your computer or laptop in there. It's a $900 device, so it's pretty expensive to just put under the plane. Maureen Carney, the only one that I know that adjusts the humidity is the Respironics system. Otherwise, the other devices are just basic. The heat moisture exchanger, the humidification is based on climate. Yeah, the elevation of the airplane has no bearing on the elevation of the CPAP machine. Bree Miles, will there be another quality unit if I had my CPAP for more than 2 years? Honestly, most insurance companies don't replace their CPAP machines, but every 5. United Healthcare is generous, and they'll do it every 3. Pamela Teixeira, no, we cannot use it with an ASV. The machine is closest to the AirSense 10 is the Resmed Airmini. Does it interfere with a spinal stimulator at all? I wouldn't think so. I'm not sure. You would probably want to ask the doctor that implanted your spinal stimulator. I don't see any particular link between the two of those. Why though, if I've had severe sleep apnea before I was at the weight I am now? Not sure. I don't understand that question, Gilbert Romero. Marjorie, at over 8,500, you could increase the pressure. You'd have to know how to do it with the devices. Again, some of them are very proprietary to their own software, like the Z1 and the Transcend. The Airmini can be programmed with a cell phone. Tom Crosley, the price of the machine is usually between $500 and $1,000, depending on which device you choose. Bruce Krymal, RO water, okay to use. Yeah, RO water is just fine. Christy Connor, I need an exam for a machine. As in a sleep study, yes, you would need to have a qualifying diagnosis of sleep apnea to obtain a prescription for one of these devices. Ron C, the AirSense 10 is the same essential device and programming as the Airmini. Yes, they are the same thing. Nicholas Fassler, my APAP is getting louder. Does it mean it's going bad? Potentially. These machines shouldn't particularly get louder. If they're making a high-pitched whirring or buzzing sound, more or less, yeah, it's having some issues. The type of batteries are used, they're not like D batteries. No, they're like, they almost look like the size of a tablet. They're kind of a decent sized battery. They have a little bit of thickness and bulk to them. The batteries generally that lay on like a table or a surface, and the machine would sit on top of it. Yes, prescriptions. All prescriptions can accommodate the travel CPAPs. All prescriptions for CPAP. Does state insurance cover the exam? Generally speaking, state insurance is maybe United Healthcare or stuff. Coverages and costs of a sleep study, it's really dependent on your particular policy. Some of them cover them at 100%. Some of them have copays. Some of them are all out of pocket for the patient. So it's really an insurance thing. I couldn't tell you whether they cover it. I could tell you that if you have the clinical symptoms, the approval of a sleep study is there, but paying for it, that's all subjective. Barbara Cox used a sleep weaver. Anything but the Airmini. That's what you'd probably want to go with. Any other devices are a little bit more compatible with the Sleepweaver or different alternative CPAP masks. Well, Sunil, I hate to clean the complete equipment every day, every week. Is there a better way to maintain the equipment clean? Well, I don't even recommend cleaning the equipment every day. If you're going to go through a general cleaning protocol, I would say you clean your mask, your tubing, your tank once a week with soapy water in your sink. It's pretty straightforward. If you want to clean something often, clean the seal of the mask that touches your face. What power pack do you recommend for power outage, and how much do they cost for the Resmed AirSense 10? The Metastrom power pack that you can buy on Amazon is probably going to be the best one you can find. And go back into the chat. Okay, let's see. Anthony, I hope I did answer that question about the altitude situation, where it's not going to be useless or not going to work, but it's just going to have a little bit less of a pressure output. The pressures could be manipulated to compensate. I had to do that with older systems that didn't have altitude capabilities. As for Inspire, Eddie Camacho, BMI under 30 is good. You don't have to be under 30 apneas to be a candidate. It's between 15 and 65 per hour. Yeah, Mike Moskowitz, the Resmed AirSense 10 app's not going to give you really any detailed information on how deep or when your apneas are. That's something we're going to get on our end. It just gives the average hour. On our end, we can get the printouts and stuff and show you when and how the apneas are, even how your pressure is responding to when you have apneas. Laura Gallagher, is there a reason the manufacturers didn't make billing codes? Yeah, there's a good reason for it. If they had billing codes for these travel machines, they'd never sell the main system anymore. At least that's my logical opinion behind it. They want to sell you two systems, not one. It's worth it though. My favorite home CPAP is the Resmed system, just from ease of use. I find it just be quieter and simpler for most patients. The Philips systems, the main Philips, the Dreamstation, I'm not a huge fan of. It works just fine, but it's not my favorite guy. Chris Lee, is a sales rep tell me which one is right for me before I purchase? It's a tough question because it depends on the vendor you go to. The vendors who deliver these machines sometimes don't have a lot of options. It's all bound to the options that they carry. If you don't like what the options that they provide, you have to search for a different vendor. Sarah Barba, how long does the battery pack last? Usually you can get about 10 hours out of a battery pack. The full machine approved for travel to Europe. They are all the CPAP machines are considered medical devices, so they all can travel to Europe. That's not a problem at all. Getting it approved to use on an airline is something you want to contact the airline beforehand. Yes, it is considered a medical device, so you're able to bring it on a plane with you. So it's not so much the manufacturer's approved batteries that are a specific output, but there is some wattages and voltages that they use. Like Resmed typically is on a 24 volt and Respironics is on a 12 volt. So you have to make sure that the battery is compatible with your device. Most of these batteries that are for sale on Amazon that you can find, the Metastrom, will tell you the devices they're capable of. The drawbacks and limitations of these travel machines is that they're louder and they're less compatible with certain masks and styles. They're really, really strong systems. I have patients that use Resmed Airmini on a nightly basis. Anthony, that 1,000-watt battery, that would be probably just fine. Just shut your humidifier off anytime you use a battery. Michael Sullivan, how often should the doctor review detailed data? Depending on clinical needs, we like to typically see patients in our office after their first visit, after their first time on the machine, about 30 to 90 days after obtaining the system. And then depending on how well you're doing or your medical history, it will be every 6 months to a year after that, based on any particular issues you could be particularly having. So the altitude CPAP webinar, that would be a fun one for me to put together. I'd have to go into getting the barometric pressures and stuff. It'd be pretty technical. Be a lot of pulling, a lot of physics being done during being done there. Yes, this has been recorded, so we can get the battery info later. Jonathan Walters, the travel CPAPs are between $500 and $1,000. Vanessa Bauer, it's not my favorite system. It's just, I find it to be bigger and clunkier. I don't like the complication of the menus of the system. It's preference. It's like you don't drive the same car as me and I don't wear the same shoes as you. I prefer the Resmed system just from ease of use. Lifespan of machines, generally 5 to 7 years. Travel machines are going to last longer because you're not going to use them as much. When it comes to the batteries on Amazon, I usually just search CPAP batteries and boom, you get hit with them all. You can plug a travel CPAP into the wall. You don't need to have them just as a battery. The Airmini does require a valid prescription. It is a medical device. The Mini does have a humidifier, and the humidifier is designed for the nasal mask styles. The Philips Respironics version has a physical water humidification, which will work with all devices.